Surviving is the same thing as winning. But please dial 123. Chapter 11. Blame Game. Kakashi slipped his blade back in the sheath strapped to his back and rolled his shoulders, feeling the sweat beating against his spine.
You've gotten quicker.
Hayate coughed slightly, chest heaving with both exertion and his illness.
In a week?
Kakashi raised a brow.
No, since you took your team. You haven't been slouching off.
Hayate grinned. Kakashi gave him an eye smile and didn't bother to answer that. Of course he hadn't been slacking off. In fact, he had been working harder than he had in the past few years. Training kids took a lot of energy, mental, emotional, and physical. He was not only training them, but keeping up with all three of them and staying one step ahead. He had been using clones in the forest and wave constantly, stretching his chakra to give each kid the one-on-one time they had desperately needed. Kakashi had been exercising muscle and jutsu he hadn't used since Anbu. He had stretched his awareness further out, encasing the kids and making sure he was aware of them at all times, on top of making lesson plans for physical and mental activities that they had been doing every day, plus all the emotional baggage that came with three little shinobi in training. Kakashi was in better shape than he had been in years, right up there with his peak at Anbu. Of course he seemed faster to Hayate, who rarely worked with him and had only seen him after his Anbu years.
The kids look like they're almost done.
Hayate coughed, glancing to his girlfriend, who was hiding up a tree. Kakashi sought out Sakura and Sasuke and found them both walking in circles, eyes glazed, and smirked. When the genjutsu whispered across his own mind, he let the illusion take but remained aware that it was indeed an illusion. Dark, loamy earth rose around him like maze walls, thick greenery growing everywhere across the dirt and up over the ridges. The air felt considerably more damp, and in the distance there was the growl and cry of some wild animal. The sky was dark as pitch, a large moon the only light. A sense of dread slipped into Kakashi. He dismissed the illusion on himself easily, quick as breathing, as his Sharingan spun even beneath his headband. Another followed, slipping into his veins, and he didn't even let it reach his senses before he dismissed it, again layering itself like a blanket over him. He didn't bother tilting his headband, just cut through it by disturbing his chakra. Yugao glanced at him from the tree, her illusion on the kids unwavering, even as she threw genjutsu at him, was easy as breathing. This was why Yugao was an Anbu. She paired her genjutsu with kenjutsu to be a terrifying force. She wasn't quite as skilled as Koronai at genjutsu, but the fact she made them so effortlessly was what made her so strong with them. She tried one last time, twisting layers of genjutsu around him, and the world felt fuzzy for a long moment, his mind slipping, and then it got through them. Yugao let the genjutsu slip away from his students at the same time, and Sakura and Sasuke both blinked at the sudden change. Sakura gave a shout of frustration and kicked at the ground as Yugao slipped from the tree.
I still didn't feel it, she said. I couldn't tell when you layered it.
I knew something was wrong, Sasuke muttered, but I didn't gain enough of my senses to know it was an illusion.
That was the trap of genjutsu, of course, if done properly, if layered right. People wouldn't realize they had been caught in genjutsu, even if it was radically different than reality. Simple but strong genjutsu would merge with reality and make it seem like things had changed just enough to throw you off, like showing you images of your immediate death, or of showing everything a foot to the right. These could be harder to notice immediately, but most people could break them. Professional, complicated, and strong genjutsu made you question your own mind. They warped reality, but made it seem so normal you didn't question it, just yourself. Kurenai's signature move was merging with trees, almost seeming inhuman as she changed into trees that strangled and choked. Despite changing into a tree, a person wouldn't immediately understand they were under her genjutsu. Instead, they would simply be driven to fear, would accept the non-reality, and react.
Genjutsu is a tricky area, Yugao said calmly at their frustration, in that it tricks not only your senses but your mind. You must become aware of yourself. Before you can master genjutsu, you must know yourself and your reality intimately with no doubt.
Kakashi could see his students mulling over it, each looking at their own reasons why that was hard.
I suggest more meditations, Yugao said in the silence. Since I cannot join you for lessons tomorrow, take the time to think on what I said.
The kids nodded, and Yugao slipped quietly over to Hayate's side. They all watched the two wander off out of the training ground.
Are they dating?
Sakura asked, glancing after the two.
Yup,
Kakashi smiled. Though there are some bets on when they're getting married. I personally have money down that they are already married from some old mission where they eloped. Sakura grinned at him, something like a romance in her eyes at the thought. Sakura was a practical girl, but she also had dreams and fantasies of how the world should be. Kakashi let her keep her dreams. I'm back! They turned to find Naruto tromping through the bush to fall into the training ground, Bisque quick on his heels. The dog gave Kakashi a nod and vanished in a plume of smoke, having completed his job of keeping an eye on Naruto. Tenten followed Naruto a moment later, picking her steps more carefully since she had a large scroll tied to her back. How were the lessons? Kakashi smiled. Awesome! Naruto bumped his hands in the air. Genma-sensei showed me how to make exploding tanks while Jiraiya and Tenten argued. Argued? Kakashi raised a brow at the blonde girl. He was trying to tell me my ceiling scroll is less efficient than a standard one, she huffed. But he's using classic Konoha-style ceiling, while I fashion mine after the Uzumaki style. There's overlap, of course, seeing how much the Uzumaki intermingle with Konoha, but still. Jiraiya was good at seals, of course, almost a master, but he was nothing compared to the Uzumaki of old. Much had been lost with Uzushio Gakare. Jiraiya had learned alongside Tsunade, though, some of Uzumaki Mito and some from other refugees. Sarutobi had gotten him the best masters when he realized his students had a knack for it. All the Sannin were seal masters in their own right. Tsunade had helped bring even more seals into healing, while Orochimaru had went the experimental seal route, and Jiraiya had stuck to classic sealing arts. Truth be told, Naruto would do better with Tenten and Genma, both trained in the Uzumaki style, which was to say, the create-your-own style, and not the classic repeating that Jiraiya followed. Jiraiya followed sealing rules religiously, as many did, and didn't care for experimenting or creation, where, as the Uzumaki had been famous for their seals, for personal seal creation and using seals in battle. On that note, Kakashi made a mental note to find some of Kushina's old scrolls for Naruto. He'd hinted as much to the Hokage, but the man had brushed him off and recommended Jiraiya, which meant he didn't want Naruto learning anything of his heritage yet. Kakashi didn't know why, but he also knew the Hokage would not be happy with Kakashi already having given away details about Kushina to Naruto. Who won the argument? Kakashi asked, snapping back to attention as Tenten handed Naruto a scroll. Neither! Naruto answered, laughing. They ran out of time! We agreed to disagree, Tenten said. Anyway, make sure to study that tonight, Naruto. I'll see you next week since Guy wants us to do some stuff tomorrow as a team. See you, Tenten! Naruto waved enthusiastically as Tenten gave Kakashi a sloppy salute and disappeared into the bush again. So you like your lessons with Genma and Tenten? Kakashi double-checked with the blunt. Yeah! Naruto cheered. Genma-sensei is awesome, and Tenten is... He danced in place a moment, energy making him vibrate. Tenten is super cool! Naruto exploded. Sensei! She has a giant scroll of weapons and she knows how to use them! And she likes seals that go boom! We made some explosive seals before she started arguing to Jiraiya, and she's so good at it! And she has a super cool spin move when using seals! Naruto made an approximate show of a spin, and Kakashi laughed as he twirled. He was glad Naruto liked this arrangement. While Naruto might not still understand the Jiraiya thing, he was being a kid and just loving life. And if he came out of it idolizing Guy's student and making a new friend there, well, Kakashi was happy. And if Jiraiya stepped one toe out of line again, Naruto had some friends close by that would make sure Jiraiya was straightened out before Kakashi got to him. And then he would be in no way straightened out. He'd be on lump in the hospital if he was still breathing. Hey! Psst! Kakashi-sensei! Naruto, Kakashi sighed, rolling over. It's 5 a.m. Please tell me there are no more perverts for me to deal with. No, Naruto said, pulling himself through Kakashi's open window. Kakashi sighed and sat up as Naruto rolled onto the floor and then flopped into a sitting pose and frowned at the ground. Kakashi yawned and waited for Naruto and his odd, thoughtful expression to speak. Kakashi-sensei! Naruto finally started. Was the whole Jiraiya thing my fault? What? Kakashi asked sharper than he had meant to. I mean... Naruto looked to the ground. I was thinking of it and stuff, and how you and Sakura freaked out, like how none of that happened till I was in girl form. Is it my fault because I used my jutsu? Naruto, Kakashi said slowly, how did you get the impression any of that was your fault? Well, I mean, it's my perverted jutsu, Naruto muttered.
And how does making yourself into a girl make you perverted? Kakashi asked, trying to follow Naruto's train of thought.
Well, Jiraiya was good until I used it, so isn't it my fault? I mean, he never did anything when I was a guy, but when I was a girl, he said stuff, and the only thing that changed was me.
Naruto, Kakashi said gently, if you think that, then doesn't it stand to reason that any perverted stuff happens because there are girls? Like if Jiraiya did that to Sakura, it would be her fault because she's a girl?
What? No!
Naruto said, aghast. Then how does you being a girl make it your fault?
Well, I mean, because I'm really a boy,
Naruto said.
because I like tricking them.
Naruto took a deep breath and tried to parse Naruto's logic. Naruto, can I ask you a question?
Yeah?
Do you like being a girl?
Huh? Do I like being in my jutsu?
Naruto asked.
Well, I don't know. I guess I don't really care, to be honest.
Naruto gave a shrug. So you don't mind if people think you're a girl? Kakashi asked.
No?
Naruto said like it was a trick question.
I mean, girls and boys are pretty much the same. They just have different, parts. Nothing wrong with being a girl.
Kakashi leaned over and ruffled his hair. Naruto, Kakashi said softly, you will be Naruto no matter if you use a jutsu to look like a girl. So it's not a trick because you are still you. Do you understand? If people treat you different because you use a jutsu to look like a girl, they're idiots. Naruto scrunched his brow and looked at the floor in a thoughtful silence.
Okay.
Naruto finally nodded decidedly.
I'm Naruto. Even if I use a jutsu to give myself boobs, it's not my fault because people should still know it's me, and it ain't a trick.
Good, Kakashi smiled. Now I want you to remember as well that Jiraiya is an adult and he made bad choices, none of which are your fault. You are not responsible for other people, only yourself. Naruto gave a solemn nod. Now stop overthinking it and go sleep for another couple of hours, Kakashi said. Naruto beamed and scurried for the window. Then he paused and lunged for Kakashi, wrapping him tightly in a hug that Kakashi returned.
Thanks, Kakashi-sensei,
he murmured into Kakashi's shirt.
You're super smart, and you always know what to say.
You'll be like that when you're older, too, Kakashi laughed. As long as you keep studying. Naruto beamed and then vanished out the window, leaving Kakashi to his last few hours of sleep. Kakashi rolled over and smiled. Naruto wasn't his brightest student, but he was getting there, and he trusted Kakashi enough to come to him. Kakashi would never betray that trust.